This is Susie Walker from Psychologies magazine, and we are live today with organisational psychologist Sarah Bonner, and we're going to be talking today about how to make a career leap. So at Psychologies magazine, we are all about finding fulfilment, loving what you do, and that's why we're so delighted, Sarah, that you're joining us today, because career fulfilment and career happiness is such a massive part of our work. I think I wrote a line the other day that we spend something like 66,000 hours of our lifetime at work. So kind of important to be happy. Now, you've just launched a business called Coaching for Square Pegs. Tell us a little bit about that, first of all, because I love the kind of definition. And I think, as we were talking earlier, that often for Psychologies readers, we don't fit in the normal kind of routes.
Absolutely. I think Coaching for Square Pegs is as it sounds. It's for people who don't want to be run of the mill, and people who are happy to sit outside that box and who are happy to kind of find their own path based on who they are, what they value. So it's about creating your own identity and your own pathway and being really comfortable with that, not feeling like you have to compromise in order to fit into somebody else's model of what you should be.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love that, not having to fit into anybody else's model of what you should be. I love it. I'm signing up already. Yeah. So, so somebody will be sitting here watching this video thinking, I really hate my job. I think I'm on the wrong path. Where do we start to make a career leap? What's the first thing that we need to do?
I think the first thing you need to do is really give yourself some time to think. So you really need to think about what it is about your job that you don't like. And then you need to think about what it is that you do want to move towards. I think a lot of the time we think, I don't like it, but what is it specifically? Trying to identify what it is you don't like. Is it the people? Is it the type of work? Is it the environment? So what is it that you really don't like?
Sometimes it's the boss, isn't it, as well? So sometimes it's not the job. It's they say that the people don't leave a job, they leave a boss.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So I think you need to identify what is the problem, what it is that you feel like you need to fix, or is it something you want to move away from, or is it something you feel like you just need to change? So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think what happens when we are unhappy, we kind of start entering this threat mode. We kind of and we have three responses: fight, flight, or freeze. You just need to understand whether you're flying because you want to, or whether you're flying because you need to.
I'm sorry about the noise. I'm on my canal boat and I've got the moorhens making a racket outside the window, and I've got the windows open because it's so hot. Yeah. So in terms of, you talk a lot about values-based careers and finding a career aligned with your values. When I first heard that, before I was a coach and before I took over at Psychologies, I didn't really know what that meant. Can you explain what aligning your values? Do you mean moral values, or what do you mean?
I think it's both. It's the things that really speak to your gut and your core soul. So there are things that you see and you do that you know that feel right for you. So for example, when you have a strong reaction to something, you normally know that a value has been conflicted in some way. So, for example, one of my values is kindness. So I find that I'm really, really upset when somebody's not kind. When I see somebody not being kind, when somebody's not kind to me, I know that's a very strong value. So when you find you're having a strong reaction to something, it's generally because your values are being met or fulfilled. So it's worth paying attention to times when you feel very happy at work, when you feel really satisfied, when you find you're enjoying what you do. You'll find on some level that your values are being met. And I think it's worth doing that exercise with all of your jobs to date, really, looking about what jobs did you enjoy, when were you happy. You probably get this graph that spikes up and down. And if you really look at that and you think about what you were doing, who you're working with, what you were able to do, what you weren't able to do, then you'll probably notice there are some themes that run through, and you'll notice, actually, I was able to do more of that. So I was able to work with lots of people and share my ideas. So that connectedness, that idea of being able to contribute, they are things that you found important. Yeah. So a value was being met there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, yes, I know that exercise, and it's kind of valleys and mountains. So in your valleys, if you start from the zero, don't you, of when you started your career, I was renting cars for salmon, so I got to drive these amazing cars.
Okay.
Well, I tell anyone. And but this wasn't for me because I was doing a lot of admin. That was my first ever job, but but I loved the kind of what I liked was the freedom of not being attached to delivering cars and leaving them there. That was brilliant. I loved that. And it was nothing to do with cars. It was just being able to be free. However, the thing that I hated was the admin. Because I'm not a detail person, and again, only I know that now, but at the time, so it's such a useful exercise to do.
It's really useful, and I think that tells you, particularly for you, you like a level of autonomy. You like to be autonomous. You probably like to be in control of your own time. You like to do things on your terms. So I think that's really important. Are you the kind of person that likes direction or likes to give direction? They're kind of really clear distinctions. So sometimes I think we go to like really granular detail when we need to probably take a step back and think very broadly, what is it that I like and don't like?
So that's the first place to start. And then what do you do? Because what can happen is that some of us have spent years and years, training to be a doctor or a lawyer or having a skill set that you're really, really good at, but you no longer enjoy. So I think there's a piece about identifying your skills, but also maybe identifying the skills that you enjoy. And then what do you do if you realize that your skill set is something you might have an eye for detail, but the thought of starting another project, it just makes your heart sink. What do you do when that happens?
I think you need to think very broadly about how those skills can be utilized. I think sometimes we get stuck in a rut because we've been doing something for so long, we don't see how else those skills can apply. So you just need to think about how else you can use those skills. And sometimes it's worth talking to other people about their jobs as well. And then you start seeing, oh, actually, that sounds quite similar to me, even though your job is very different. You're doing similar things to me. So you can start seeing how you can utilize your skills in different ways. I think that's a really important thing to do.
Can you give me an example of maybe someone you've worked with or worked alongside that is relevant? So for example, I see it a lot with journalism, that people are, they're good at writing, they're good at coming up with ideas, and they can quite easily make the leap to a marketing department, or they can make leap to working in a PR thing, and also creatively working with businesses to come up with new concepts or new products for them. So I've seen that. So in my world, journalism, what sort of things that leaps do you see people making?
I think there's sometimes some basic things. So for example, if you've worked in like a client services role, there's lots of things you can do. There's lots of strengths that come with that. So I think if you break it down, it's probably the way you communicate with people. You're probably good at starting relationships. So roles that rely on you being able to have conversations, to initiate conversations, to maintain conversations, be able to explain things really clearly, and be able to take on board information and then relay that to other people. They are a lot of transferable skills just from looking at a very narrow sector or slither of what it is that you're able to do. So I think there's lots of things there. I came from the world of client relationship account management, and before that I was a journalist. So I think the fact that I'm curious about people, that's always really helped me. So that idea of being able to build relationships, have connectedness with people, and that's kind of helped me move through and transition into different areas of my career where initially I thought I can't move into this space, but actually when I broke it down, I did already have a lot of the fundamental skills and values there that I was able to employ.
Yeah, I mean, that is, as you say, they feel like soft skills, don't they? Like relationship building. Whereas some people say, oh, well, I can do Excel spreadsheet or whatever it is. So it's kind of hard skills, but also the soft skills. Don't forget about those. So when you, as you say, when you sort of really focus down on, so for example, journalism, there's a piece around creating rapport, interviewing people, getting the right information, not being embarrassed to talk to people. There's all of those things, aren't they, which, as you say, are completely transferable into a different profession.
Absolutely. So it's about being really objective about your skill set. So I would always encourage people, like I said before, talk to other people about your career, talk to other people about the jobs you did. And sometimes it's really nice to see yourself and your career and your skills through other people's eyes, because that's how you start extracting and identifying some of how these experiences and some of your skills and some of your abilities, capabilities are really transferable. And that's what I've done quite a few times. I've talked to other people about my roles, my jobs, where I want to be. And a lot of people said, actually, it may sound like it's really normal for you, but this is not normal for me. And you're saying a lot of things there that are new to me, are exciting, that are interesting. Write them down. It's a really good place to start.
I mean, I remember when, so before I was educated psychology, I was also a coach. And I remember people, I coached a stylist who became very famous on television. And people say, oh, I want to be that, like that. I want to be the stylist. And so I said, okay, right. And I give them the exercise of going off and taking someone styling for the day. Yeah. And they used to come back and go, oh my God, I hated it. I hated it. It was really hard work and boring and da-da. And I said, well, what was it about and it was about being in front of people and presenting. So it was when we identified what it is they actually loved about that. It was, being there to inform and to be at the front of the room is what they like to do. So then they could, make the leap. It wasn't about the styling. It wasn't about taking somebody around a shop and saying that looked really great, but they were creative. They liked putting colors together, or they had a creative flair and they knew they liked being at the front of the room. So it's really, as you've said, really drilling down into that. So in my experience, also, what I found is that people had a big vision about what they wanted to do, and then they were crippled by self-doubt and thinking, well, I can't do that. It's not possible for me. So how do we get over our self-doubt?
I think the way to get over your self-doubt is to really just give yourself the time and the freedom to explore these ideas. Don't discount them before you've actually had a chance to kind of really explore what's involved. Sometimes we see the end goal. So, for example, if you decide you want to become a surgeon, for example, so that's a really big goal. So if someone said to me right now, if I said right now I want to be a surgeon, immediately I think I can't do that. And no, of course you can't do that right now. But what are the steps that you need to take to get there? So sometimes it's about breaking down those steps. So the first thing I would do is go away and research what I need to do to become a surgeon. What qualifications do I need? So if you break it down, then you've got these little goals and these little steps. So rather than doubting yourself, you make it achievable. You're setting yourself up to succeed, because if you break down that journey, you can start going, I can do that. The first thing I need to do is just go away and do my research. That's a positive. Yes, I can do that. So then you're kind of showing yourself compassion. You're making it realistic, and you're making things feasible. How feasible is it to do that? Yes, it's really feasible initially to do that first step.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you 100%. It's just baby steps, baby steps, baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that it's any different? So a lot of our young people are now, they're going out into the world. I have a 17-and-a-half-year-old son who's just about to, I don't think he is going to go to university, but maybe he will. But he wants to go out into the world, and he's got all of these amazing ideas about what he wants to do, and it's what advice would you give to a young 18-year-old who's going out in the world, and they want to kind of set the world on fire and do what they want to do? How do we inspire them, and how do we support them to create the career that they want?
I think you encourage them initially. I would encourage, that's what I do with my children, just explore, speak to lots of people, see what's out there, don't limit yourself. I think that's the first thing. I mean, we've talked to our children a lot about probably the first career you have is going to be one of many. So you're probably going to change your careers quite a lot. So I think I would say speak to lots of people. Don't be scared to try something. I mean, this is a perfect, and no one expects you to be the finished article when you go into the world. I mean, I even tell myself that now. No one expects me to be the finished article, and I'm 43. So, but when you're 18,
53, yeah, I'm the same. Constantly evolving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're all on a journey, and that's the thing. We're always learning. We're all on a journey. I'm going to be growing and learning until to the very end. I'm hoping I will be growing and learning till the very end. So I think now the brilliant time when you're 18, just to be just to explore, be curious. That's always my advice. Be curious, find out, try it. You know, how are you going to know unless you try it? And I think that's when you really are trying to use your network. I would say don't undervalue your network. So if you've got friends, your friends' brothers, sisters, parents, aunties, uncles, if they're doing something you're interested in, just have a chat with them, you know, and people love to share information. So have a chat, ask the question, never be scared to ask the question, can I come and try it with you, please?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's the actual trying of something. So, you know, go out styling for the day. I remember, I mean, at 26, I didn't make the leap into journalism till I was 26, and I was doing a completely different job. And I just went and did work experience at the local paper, and I thought, okay, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. But then, I mean, I got 3 stories published, and I absolutely loved it. And I was like, yes, this. I just knew, rather than it being a fantasy, I just thought, I love this. I read this is for me. So it's that, isn't it? It's trying to throw yourself in and just having an experience of it viscerally. Do I really love this? And as you say, we've always got, you know, 6 degrees of separation. There's somebody, isn't there?
There is. And I think it's that leap of faith sometimes. Sometimes we kind of have to let go of what the outcome might be, but it's just the process of doing it. That's where you have the learning. And I think you do have to be a bit brave sometimes. And I know that's really easy to say, and you know, sometimes there's a lot at stake and you have to have that self-belief. But the more you try, the easier it becomes. So it's about just taking that first step and putting yourself out there. You might have to make yourself vulnerable, but you will learn and grow from it. Something will become clear.
I mean, there's another objection I hear a lot about, oh, I can't do my dream career, or I can't do that, is because of money. And you know, people say, you know, I've got a mortgage to pay, don't be ridiculous. What would you say to that?
I would say I completely hear that. I mean, financial reality is a big concern, economic reality, and it was for me when I changed my career. But I think you just need to work out what's your minimum, what's the minimum you can live with. And I think sometimes it's not about thinking that if I'm going to change my career, I have to do it all in one chunk. I think a lot of people think I'm going to change and that's it. This time next week, I'm going to have a new career and I'm going to have to replace my salary. Think of it as just a project on the side that can just bubble away. You know, just start it. Just start it on the side. So I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. She was saying she wanted to get a new job in leadership. And we were talking about it and she didn't sound very happy. So I just asked the question. So look, if I could wave a magic wand, what would you actually do? She said, you know what I'd really love to do is declutter people's wardrobes for a living.
Oh my God.
And and then we suddenly talked about it. And within half an hour, she had a plan. She had a plan.
There's a decluttering association. We did a whole dossier on it. Yeah.
I need to put her in touch. So what she did then is when we said to her, so rather than thinking about this as launching a business, you're making it feel really heavy, really big. It's a huge responsibility. Just think of it as a little project on the side that you're just going to do. And just that shift in onus and weight and responsibility made it seem like, okay, this is fine. I can cope with that. I don't have to carry this burden. It can just be something that I kind of just stoke the fire as and when I want to and need to. And I feel like I'm taking positive steps. But I think the financial reality is a concern. I think you have to decide, and it's a decision. Maybe if you have a family, talk to them about it. I did when I changed my career. I was our breadwinner, so I just had to say to them, so look, this is a reality. This is what might change. But we also thought about what we were going to gain as a family as a result. So rather than we had less money, yes, but what we gained was my time, my presence, you know, me being less stressed, me being happier, me being present. So it was a really good trade-off for us anyway.
Yeah. Again, I completely agree with you. I mean, from when we interview our readers for the magazines, and that's exactly how they make the leap, and also how I made the leap when I transitioned from being a journalist to a coach for around 10 years. And that's what I started by, you know, doing coaching in the evenings. So I still have my journalism career, but I coached like 3 evenings a week. I mean, it was hard and it was tiring,
Yeah.
But that's how I built up my coaching hours. That's how I built up my database and all of those things. And it did take me around 3 years before I had a really solid business to kind of transition to. But it, you know, but in the meantime, I felt like I was on a path. You know, I did the training and then started it, and it, you know, it worked. It did work. So I think your advice is absolutely spot on. Sarah, thank you so much for your time today. I hope everyone listening at home and in offices around the country have also found this really useful. And if you want to make a career leap, do get in touch with Sarah at Coaching for Square Pegs, and the details are below. Thank you so much for sharing your advice and your wisdom with us today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Lots of love. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.